conduct creating risk of death or serious injury, disregarding a police officer's signal, and possession of consumption of marijuana in excess of personal use quantity. Subsequent to his arrest, investigators discovered that Turner is a fugitive wanted by police agencies in the states of Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. The U-Haul van was seized and towed to Newark Police Department headquarters for processing, and a search warrant was obtained for that vehicle by investigators, and during a preliminary search of the vehicle, a handgun was discovered within the vehicle. Additional charges may be forthcoming as this investigation continues. This morning, Turner was arraigned at Justice of the Peace Court number 11, and he was issued $305,500 cash bond. In default of that bond, he was committed to Howard R. Young Correctional Institute. So we ask that anyone who may have information in this investigation to contact our primary investigator, who is Corporal John Lee. His phone number is 302-366-7100, extension 3462, and his email is jlee, L-E-E, @newark.de.us. In addition, the Newark Police Department is asking for anyone who may have video evidence of this crash to upload that footage directly to our website. There is a link that is attached to the press release that was disseminated shortly before this press conference, but the link to the press release can be found at newarkdepolicepress.com. And with that, I will turn over to Mayor McDermott.
Thank you, Chief. My name is Travis McDermott. I'm the mayor for the city of Newark. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. I wish it was under different circumstances. First, I want to express my deep sadness over the tragic incident that occurred in our community yesterday. My heartfelt condolences go out to the victims and the families of those who are suffering from this senseless criminal act. As a father raising 2 children in our city, I know that there are no words that can truly ease the pain that we are all feeling right now. Our city has been deeply affected by a series of similar incidents that have occurred over the past year. In August of 2024, a mother and her young child were killed when a subject was fleeing from the police on Route 273 just outside of our jurisdiction. A short time later, a University of Delaware freshman was struck and killed by a motorcyclist who was fleeing police on Main Street. Shortly after that, another pedestrian was struck by another person evading police on West Main Street, and they suffered severe, prolonged injuries. Our church, St. John's Church, at the corner of New London Road and Cleveland Avenue, has been struck not once, but twice by subjects running from the police, causing hundreds of thousands of dollars to that historic building. And then, of course, the tragedy that occurred yesterday that has brought us here. And while those responsible for these criminal acts must be held fully accountable for their behavior, we as a community must also take action to prevent future tragedies. We need a multi-pronged approach that focuses both on improving road and pedestrian safety and ensuring that those who choose to flee from law enforcement face serious consequences for their reckless actions, regardless of the outcome. Although the incidents I mentioned received significant public attention, I can tell you that subjects fleeing from police have become alarmingly common across this state. It happens every single day, and that should concern all of us. I stand here today with the Attorney General for the state of Delaware, Kathy Jennings, to emphasize that these crimes must be treated as a top priority by the Department of Justice, and that real and consistent consequences must follow. But at the same time, we must continue to do everything we can do to enhance safety throughout our city. And to that end, the City of Newark, the University of Delaware, and the Delaware Department of Transportation are going to hold a joint meeting in the immediate future to address potential safety improvements for our Main Street corridor. And while I cannot yet say specifically what changes will be made or proposed, I'm committed to finding and implementing solutions that work for all of the residents, students, and visitors for our city. In times of tragedy, we must come together as a community, work together, find solutions, and ensure that we do everything possible to prevent future incidents from occurring. So That's all I have for you this afternoon. So thank you for coming again, and I will now turn it over to the Attorney General for the State of Delaware, Kathleen Jennings.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. And thanks especially to the dedicated first responders and public servants who have been working through the night to recover victims, to clear the wreckage, and investigate the horrific crime that occurred here last night. The Newark Police Department, the University of Delaware Police Department, and the City of Newark have already been incredible partners with our prosecutors who were also first responders, Deputy Attorneys General Barzi Axelrod and Andrew Vella, who worked hard last evening to render legal assistance along with the police. We are partners. We are partners in the good times, and we are partners during tragedy. I would like everyone to know that the prosecutors in the criminal division in our office, including Chief Deputy Attorney General Dan Logan, State Prosecutor Abigail Rogers, Chief Newcastle County Prosecutor Tim McGuire, and the lead homicide prosecutor in our office, who will be handling this case, Ipek Karul, came here today to stand with the first responders, with the two police departments, with your government, and with all of us, to both mourn the tragic loss here, as well as to chart a path forward toward justice. This is a gut-wrenching, senseless, and intolerable crime that occurred last night, all of which was completely and totally avoidable. Let's be clear. A student was murdered during an attempt by the defendant to evade a simple traffic stop by law enforcement. These students were not in the wrong place at the wrong time. They were 9 young people out on a beautiful spring day, enjoying Main Street, one of our crown jewels in the city of Newark. Because of one person's cruel and selfish decision, because of the defendant's choice not to obey police officers, 9 of those young people were injured. One of those young people will never go home. I'm a University of Delaware graduate who crossed that intersection hundreds of times during my years at the university. I'm a mom of another Blue Hen graduate, my son Billy. As an alumna, as a mother, and as Attorney General, I promise you this. This defendant will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and I will not rest until we have found justice for what happened to these students. I can share today that the state is pursuing the following charges against defendant Gordon Turner. 1 count of murder in the second degree, a Class A felony. 1 count of felony murder, a Class A felony. 1 count of assault in the first degree, a Class B felony. 1 count of disregarding a police officer's direction in the course of and in the furtherance of a felony, a Class G felony. There will undoubtedly be other charges, and they will be pursued at the time of indictment, but those are the initial charges. I want to be clear, they are only the first filed charges. We fully anticipate those additional charges to come at the time of indictment or sooner. As this case develops and as more information is learned, we will be able to provide you with some more information, but it's important to know that right now we are at the very beginning stages of building the case, of gathering together evidence, and as the chief said, we are looking for whatever evidence citizens might have. in the form of videos or otherwise. This will be a thorough and exhaustive investigation, and we need your patience. There's not a lot we can talk about today, and indeed we are ethically bound by the rules that govern lawyers not to talk about other than what we've said to you today. So that's how it works. You know it. I look around the room, and I think I know just about everyone in this, from the press in the room. So please respect that. Please also respect the tragedy that has befallen the parents of this student who passed away. They're going through hell. That's the only way to put it. They're going through hell. And we just need to respect their own peace and quiet as they take in what's happened. The defendant in this case stands to spend his life in prison. He is innocent until proven guilty, and we intend to do just that. This is a tragedy, one that has to serve as a lesson. This happened because of the defendant's snap decision in a moment when law enforcement were attempting to keep pedestrians safe. This is what you invite when you flee from the police, and we are not going to tolerate it. Main Street is the beating heart of downtown Newark and the University of Delaware. We have to guarantee its safety and the right of every law-abiding Delawarean to enjoy a beautiful day in the springtime without fear for their safety or their lives. This afternoon, I am thinking of the victim's family and holding them in my heart. We will hold this defendant accountable. I will now hand this off to the University of Delaware's Vice President for Student Life, Jose Luis Liera. Thank you, Jose, for coming forward.
Thank you and good afternoon. As was stated, my name is Jose Riera and I serve as the Vice President for Student Life at the University of Delaware. And I'll begin in the place that makes the most sense, and that is to just sit with the humanity of this situation. Our community is hurting. We've lost an incredibly bright individual who is doing incredible work at the university, and that is true of the peers that were injured as well. And so I share, on behalf of the university community, our deepest condolences to the families, but also to the friends on the campus, the faculty, the staff that are related to all of the victims in one way or another. In the ensuing hours since the incident, myself, my team, many of us across campus have had the opportunity to hear from dozens of students, faculty, and staff, and our community is hurting. I mean, there is a hole, and I would say beyond sitting with the tragedy, I'll also say that our community continues to cry out, as we've been throughout the year, for us to collectively come together and invest in the safety infrastructure of Main Street. Main Street, as Attorney General Jennings stated, is an incredibly important part of both the campus culture and the student experience at the University of Delaware. I want to say we unequivocally fully support and greatly appreciate the leadership of our Attorney General, Kathy Jennings, in raising awareness and advocating for the safety of our community. And when I talk about community, I talk about all of us. Newark and the University of Delaware were so interwoven, and that certainly extends across the state. We are a learning-centered enterprise and institution. And for those of you who are in education, and I know our governor knows this well, the foundation of a learning environment is in fact safety. It's in fact being able to freely live, work, study, engage, play in an area where you can really make yourself better and ultimately contribute to society. I can tell you from the testimony of our students, they are scared. They're scared about walking on Main Street. And that is hardly the type of environment that we want at the university, and I know that's not the environment that the city of Newark or the state of Delaware wants for any of us here. And so I'll say that the University of Delaware will continue to advocate for and support the efforts of our legislative partners and our state government administrators, as you heard from Mayor McDermott, to invest in measures that can make Main Street safer for all, especially pedestrians. We're committed to working with those individuals. We are listening to our community, we're engaging with our community, and we will be at the table to bring real solutions with our partner. And I want to thank in advance the work of our legislative partners and our state government as well in addressing these issues. Thank you.
We'll take a couple brief questions. Yes, sir.
The mayor said that it's more common for people to flee from police. Is there any number behind that or estimates?
I don't have specific estimates other than the ones that the mayor just mentioned. We've had 5 since at least last August that have resulted in serious crashes.
Is that an increase from previous?
That is unusual, and that is an increase. We have not seen numbers like that in the past.
Can you explain why Turner is wanted in the 3 other states and
Yeah.
what that now means moving forward, especially now that he's facing the felony charges here in Delaware?
Right. So we'll work with our partners at the AG's office on that. I can't elaborate on his charges from another state, but we will work with the Attorney General's office on that. And, it certainly, might explain, part of the reason why he decided to flee from police.
Yeah. It helps to explain all of the motives that may have been gone through his mind, which is why we mention it. But typically in this scenario, and we have so many lawyers in the room who will tell me if I'm wrong, but typically in this kind of situation, he would face those charges in Delaware first.
300K sounds a little bit low for murders. I know they're second degree, but still, him being wanted in other states, does this mean he is not going to be getting out of it? If you were to pay that, he's not going to be leaving?
We're going to make sure he does not get out of jail pending trial, if that's your question, Esteban. That's pretty much your question. No matter what it takes, if it's $1 million, whatever it takes, he should not step out of prison. But yes, the presence of a warrant from other states helps in that regard.
Was he a resident of Newark, and was he connected to the university in any way?
Yeah, I don't believe he was connected to the university at all, but I don't want to talk about where his residence is right now.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure if it's Chief or Attorney General, but can you talk about the frustrations of the whole concept of fleeing from police versus pursuits? Because it seems like law enforcement's in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation when it comes to pursue, not pursue. Here you didn't pursue, fatal result. There's been pursuits with the same result. What do
They
you
don't
think?
know they're not being pursued. They might not know that they're not being pursued.
Yeah, so in the city of Newark, we have a very strict pursuit policy, and our officers and supervisors have to make the decision on whether or not, and we can't speculate on why somebody may be fleeing from us. So what we have to make that judgment call on is the danger to the public greater if we don't pursue than if we do pursue. So that plays into the factor of whether or not we pursue somebody. For example, the case where the motorcycle that struck and killed the young lady, the University of Delaware tried to make a traffic stop on that vehicle, and the vehicle fled, and they immediately turned their lights off and stopped trying to chase, because we're not going to chase and risk endangering the public for a traffic violation. However, unfortunately, that resulted in what we now know happened. So it's a balance that we have to to find. We are certainly not going to chase a vehicle for what essentially all we knew is a property crime down Main Street at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a sunny day. So,
This might be a question more for the mayor.
Well, before you ask that question, I want everyone in this room to understand, the police did everything right. And they keep us safe each and every day. They did everything right. What we have learned over many years, and unfortunately, maybe I've been around for too many of those years, the safer practice is to do exactly what, the chief has said. And only one person caused this, and he's in jail.
And Chief, while you're up there, just a quick question. Did you say Turner drove over the officer who originally engaged with him?
he did not drive over the officer. He hit the officer's car. The officer was in the car. He hit the car and drove up over a curb. That's probably what he drove over the curb, but he hit the car and pushed the car out of the way in his attempt to flee.
Chief, I don't know if the circumstances play this out or not, but there's construction on that building right next to Chipotle there. There's no sidewalk. I don't know if that factored in, but is it legal to completely block a sidewalk so that people have to walk in Main Street, which is very busy, obviously, and to get around? It's not like they didn't use a crosswalk. They're literally walking down the street.
Yeah, that's outside of my wheelhouse. I can't answer that question. So, yes, sir. I'm sorry.
One more question.
After an accident like this, how do you reevaluate the policy when it comes to the chase policy, and how do you go about that within the department?
So we constantly debrief after incidents like this. In this case, it appears that the policy worked exactly as it was supposed to work. The officers didn't chase this person. Unfortunately, they chose to flee at a high rate of speed. And unfortunately, we're dealing with the aftermath of the decisions of the defendant. So, thank you all for coming. I appreciate it.
Thanks, folks. If you have any follow-up questions, you can email DOJ.media@delaware.gov.